Can we just talk it out? And perhaps I can hear something of different angle, different perspective that you can see that I'm not seeing.
Business leaders know the future is already here. The economy is shifting. Non-humans are entering the workforce. Nothing feels certain. SHRM understands those evolving challenges, both in the workplace and the wider world. In this podcast, we'll bring together authors, researchers, executives, and non-traditional experts to help you take on the challenges others haven't yet considered. Because you don't need to be a futurist, you need actionable insights now. You need to be a Tomorrowist.
I'm Jerry Wang. Welcome to Tomorrowist, where we explore the trends shaping the future of work. We're recording live at the CEO Summit in Virginia, where we're sitting down with leaders who are redefining what it means to lead with purpose, resilience, and humanity in a fast-changing world. Here to share her insights is Lizette Arches, leadership coach, author, and speaker, dedicated to helping organizations and individuals prepare for the future and create cultures where both leaders and teams can thrive. Lizette, welcome to Tomorrowist.
Thank you, Jerry. Great pleasure being here.
I'm excited to talk about this topic today, but also, it's not with such happiness because it is a topic about burnout, right? And so one thing that we are experiencing, all of us, regardless of whether you're an employee or you're a leader or you work for yourself, is burnout, is dealing with what seems like change after change, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of, insecurity, and then just change in general. And that is both technological change, that is social change, that is change all around us. And so share with us why the topic of burnout, what makes you passionate about it, and let's get started on that topic.
Well, the problem that I wanted to address is burnout because I want to reignite the passion of leaders so that we don't end up with leadership deficit. Yeah, burnout is aimed at attacking the passion of the leaders. And when you are burnout, you're exhausted. You feel like you have topped off everything that you have within you, right? And yet the demand is still there. And you realize that you thought you are at 80% and that, no, you're just at 10.
Yeah.
And so that could really, you lose the passion of doing leadership if that is the situation.
Give us a bit of context. When we talk about burnout affecting leaders today, what percentage of that, and sort of, give us the context of how big the problem is?
Yes, thank you. Study shows that 71% of CEOs are experiencing burnout. You're looking at these CEOs are human beings just like us. They have families. They have wife, children to go home to, but doing everything in their company organization to be the best that they can to lead people. And you're talking about different layers of functions and roles can be totally overwhelming. They can be overwhelmed, underwhelmed, and they can end up with neglect. Meaning to be able to catch up with all the demands of being a leader, you would trade off your personal care, your health, your eating, your diet, and not only that, that quality time that is so essential for leaders to be with their loved ones. And sometimes we don't realize that there is a power that we draw out of that. And we trade it because we think that we want to be go, let's get this done.
So even though that survey was mainly targeting or surveying CEOs, let's just assume that many of our audience members who are CEOs and different leaders, and even if you don't have a C-levels title, that's something that we've all felt, something that we've all experienced. And most importantly, I don't think it's something that we are being as vocal about, right? And so if you're watching this or listening to this, you're not alone. Everybody is dealing with it. A lot of people are dealing with it. And you said 71%. I would imagine that the 29% is still experiencing some form of it.
Absolutely.
They just haven't, maybe felt it as much or have vocalized it.
Yes.
You mentioned a few things. Looking from a trend perspective, we are also living at a time where executives are more accessible. There are more things expected of them from having a social presence, from doing this, doing that. They're expected broadly to do more with less resources. And they're also, many of them, concerned about their future And so there's all these different forces that are impacting what we broadly have labeled as burnout. What are the trends that are contributing more to the burnout as the technology changes and as our culture changes that you've seen?
Technology is number one. It's on top of the list because technology shifts, changes so fast. And with every change in technology, I mean, can you imagine driving the whole organization with this snap of a change right at the moment? And it feels like the one that you just achieved yesterday is obsolete tomorrow. So the pressure that is put upon the shoulder of the leader to be able to drive, it's like a captain of the ship. Can you imagine this huge ship needs to turn certain degree, and you cannot do that in a snap of a finger. But the demand is making them think that, yeah, you can do it. If you want to be successful, yes, you should do it. You must do it. And so the pressure depletes their energy more than inspires them.
You mentioned self-care and health and diet and things that are first to go. I think it's also, it makes sense because leaders by design are selfless. They want to take care of others, whether that be family, their team, or their organization. What is the first advice you give them when you are coaching somebody or meeting a leader who is obviously experiencing burnout, for them to take a step back? I want to make sure that we're being mindful that they always want to serve the organization or feel
Absolutely.
like without me, the organization is not going to, I have to be the one, right? What's the advice there for people to, assess the situation and then to make sure that they can care for themselves?
Part of the leadership audit that I call with my clients is, let's audit your leadership. Where is the pain point? The pain point, and sometimes the symptoms would go physical, the physical manifestations of, aches and pains here, chronic illness. But I will tell them that's just a symptom. And it stems from something that's invisible. Jerry, it's invisible. It's in the mind. It's in the heart. And so when all that there is that you are constantly thinking about it, that you cannot ever be present to where you are after the shift has taken place already. Now that's alarming, especially when you go home and you're home, but you're not home. Right. You took your work with you. And so you cannot connect effectively to the very thing that would replenish that energy. So I call it energy leaks. These energy leaks needs to be recognized. Where is your energy leaking? Because we need you to be energized. Leaders, passionate leaders, are top achievers. But you need to guard that passion, because when that passion is under attack, it will deplete you and will not, and it will also hinder your innovation and creativity.
I think leaders, when they get to that level, right, I think they have this, what got me here is what's going to get me here, the next place, right? And so it is this obsession with energy and dedication. Right. And I think, and that's not true, but I think it's also, as you mentioned, when you're in that role, I think it's also realizing that there are support systems in place that,
Absolutely.
You as an executive can hire people to
Absolutely.
delegate.
Correct.
Sometimes, many of us have this false impression that we have to do everything.
Yes.
And I think it's also having an honest conversation that the organization will survive and exist without me. Right?
Absolutely.
And I think we all feel that in our personal lives.
Yes.
Where we feel like we can't take a day off, but and most of the times it's not for good reasons, but if we have to step away, right? Whether it's for ourselves or someone that we care about, nothing that bad happens. Right?
Absolutely.
So I think sometimes, reminding yourself that, as they say, the sun will rise, the sun will set, and that things will continue to happen, right? And I think it's taking that pressure off. And so another part I want to ask you about is, what are things that folks can do? Is it, working with coaches? Is it finding a peer group to talk about these things? Because I think part of the burnout for executives is the inability to voice it, because sometimes they feel that it is a sign of weakness, that it is something that they don't want to admit as a point of failure, either to their team or to their peers. And so what are some of the things that people can actively do to both mitigate existing burnout and then to prevent future ones?
It's recognizing that burnout is here. And so posturing yourself to say, I am not going to let it in and dwell without paying rent, so to speak, right? Don't let it. You have the power to say yes or no. What are you going to do with it? You recognize it, yes or no? Is it going to stay? Can you do something about it? And one of the things that I do with my clients when we do leadership audit is you own your leadership. You are a leader. And this leader is so important that we need to guard your leadership. You are a leader, you need to protect yourself because decision makings, the bottom line of decision makings will come from you. And so your mind, your heart, your body needs to be peak performance, right? But when there is these symptoms already going, it's important to step back and have an assessment. And number one is it's this tyranny of control, Jerry, that if we are not in control, everything will fall apart. But really, the reality is get to know you. The chapter 2 tells about get to know you is one of my favorites because I really believe once you get your self-awareness, will also allow you to develop your awareness of other people, the people's skills, to detect their personality indicators. And that's what I use the DISC, D-I-S-C method, John Maxwell way. I love it because it's really comprehensive. And so I start with that. Let's assess your personality, your likes, your dislikes, the buttons that you don't want pushed, and how are we able to optimize those strengths. Not to focus on the weakness, because when you focus on your strengths, the weakness goes down. It your strength highlights everything good about you, so much so that you will be willing to recognize the others who can play a part in the team. So together, everyone achieves more. And isn't that something that you want as a leader? You want more. So if you want more, you would allow space for more people to collaborate with you.
I think one critical thing that I've learned along my journey as well is that, the lack of, it's the interesting balance between selflessness and the perception of selfishness is that we were all taught and depending on, largely impacted by different cultures that you're raised in, and sort of how you were taught to be as a leader. We take this concept of selflessness and of service a bit to an extreme.
Yes.
Where we are taught that somehow it's glorified that when you don't take care of yourself and it's all about others, right? Mothers know this inherently, right? It's all about the family. And I think we're getting to a better place in our culture and a society where we can openly talk about even those caregivers and even those servants saying, hey, you need to take care of yourself. Every time we get on an airplane, we get a nice reminder, put on your own mask before your others. But then we get off the plane and we forget about it, right? And we say, I'm going to give. And sometimes I think we have, I think one of the things that we can do better is to not put that level of service on a pedestal so much that it glorifies the lack of self-care. What are some things that folks can do to remind themselves to care for themselves? Because burning out means that it doesn't go, right? So we feel like we need to, prioritize others in the organization before we do. But when we break, there's nothing to give.
Correct.
And then the tank goes to zero. Particularly for the people who are inherently thinking that selflessness is the ultimate badge of honor, what is the advice that you give to clients in that regard to not feel guilty about putting a little bit of the attention and care back on themselves?
It's a balance, and it's acknowledging that yes, selflessness is a good badge, right? But the self-care is not at all selfishness. Self-care is caring for you so that you will be able to care for other people. And as you illustrated, and I always fascinated whenever I'm on the plane, okay? Put your mask first before you help others. Oh, but that's child. You need to put that to the child first. Well, but if you faint,
There's no.
there's no way that you will be able to help this. And as you said, it goes to zero, but not worse is it goes to negative. Because then, where are we now? Yeah, and the absence is prolonged when you get sick. And worse, if you really, really forget about yourself, we lose you. And this is again, then we have leadership deficit. I cannot emphasize enough that when you get to know you, so when was the last time that you really checked in to have an introspect of who are you? What are you about? And what do you want to achieve? And I think being able to have a coach to listen and audit that is really inspiring. Because they will have this safety net of, because if you are a leader, who do you talk to? As a leader, it's very challenging for you to look for a confidant, for a person that you would really be assured of that this person is not going to gossip about me, spread the word about, my own weaknesses, and what about my image and things like that. Well, as coaches, we understand that, and that's really exactly why we're here. We want to make sure that that is sustained so that the respect and the following of the people, because a leader is important. People look up for a leader to follow. And that is something that we need to protect. That's why self-care is here. And getting to know you is key. And getting to know the other people. When they too, people under you, when they see you, Jerry, coming to me and say, Lizette, I see something is a little bit different today than, this past few days. What is going on? It's caring.
Sure.
Because you care more authentically when you yourself went through it.
And then I'd say, you talked about self-care, you talked about checking in, having people in your life, whether it's a coach or a therapist or, a peer group, to have these conversations. And I want to, note that even though we feel like we're in a much better place than we've been before, there's a lot of pressure for certain, again, cultures and groups to see that as weakness, right? And so, I'm talking straight to the men who are watching and listening. Many of us are taught not to go there because it is a sign of weakness. That's not what men do, so you bottle it inside. And I will share that I think, again, everybody's a little bit different, but, it is not a sign of weakness, and you should, at least share, right? And so, and I think that sort of expectation of what you should do as a leader, that leaders don't talk and they're supposed to tough it out, the research suggests that, that is not the most healthy way.
Absolutely, it is not, because that's denial. See, a strong leader faces reality with the courage. To me, I think it's more courageous to say, hey, I'm going through this, I need help. Can we just talk it out? And perhaps I can hear something of different angle, different perspective that you can see that I'm not seeing. Sure. See, this being the blind spots are there, and you say, if I ask my clients like, "Oh, what do you write your blind spots?" And they look at me like, "You can't write anything, right? That's why it's a blind spot. You can't see it." So you would need somebody to really be there to talk it out and have this peace in your heart that you are in good conversation. It's a safe environment that you can. Not only that, but you can thrive out of there. Yeah. Because that's how you're going to get insights. Sure. And the insight is really to silence the noise. Insight is silencing the noise and coming up with a direction. Yeah. So you will always encounter burnout. It will always be a threat. But the thing is, what you do about it, to rise up and conquer it, to the point like, if you are thriving, this is what thriving means to me, but you are so inspired and in a spirit of expectation of what is to come next, rather than you're dreading. Oh, I'm dreading this meeting, or I'm dreading this contract that's about to come at my desk. No, you are excited. Why? Because you know within yourself that you are made for a purpose. This is a day that you are going to face this, and you're doing something about, the things that bothers you. It's empowering you. Let's remove those debris. I would say debris in the journey, right? That hinders you. And when that clears, phenomenal things can happen in this creativity and innovation and attitude, which is really the determination of altitude.
What can leaders do? So let's say that for folks who've listened to us for the past 20 minutes or so, they're like, okay, I get it. For me, I need to find my people. I need to have these conversations, do these assessments. What principles and lessons can we share with our audience to then take these ideas, implement it for the organizations so they build a broad culture that also, right? So demonstrating value and then as a leader, admitting or, at least seeking, again, just sharing with people that they too are caring for themselves and are dealing with burnout.
Right.
But then they also have to lead and to put in perhaps procedures or, things within their organizations. How does one build that culture effectively?
Connection. When you connect your vision and your purpose as a company, and you connect with your people when they see you care enough to connect their own vision, personal vision, to the vision of where you're taking them. Somehow, somewhere, I really believe that there is a connection that will come out of that conversation. And when people are connected with the vision that you are giving to them, they own it. You don't own it, you didn't impose it on them, they own it. When you make them part of the process, they own the end result. And so they are cheering for you along the way, because they are in expectation, in anticipation for together what you have brought to reality is really a teamwork. So I love collaboration because it compounds the impact and influence that a leader can have. You can be as successful as you are by yourself, but what a joy and what fulfillment when you see that you've taken more people to be part of it. Sometimes I ask people to do things that I can do myself just to make them part. That you say, oh, but you did this. And they become very grateful that you make them part of the result.
Awesome. Lizette, this has been a fascinating conversation. You are full of great insights and energy. I can see why people rely on you to help them navigate these things. The Passionate Leader is the title of your best-selling book, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Leave us with your best. I know we've talked about so many good things, and you've given us so much advice. Your one advice that if somebody takes away one thing from this conversation to help them be better passionate leaders tomorrow, to deal with burnout better, and to lead effectively in more inclusive, healthy organizations, what would that be?
Listen, when your passion is under attack, it robs you of your joy, it spoils your beliefs, and it destroys your hope. And when there is no hope, there is no life. Life ends, meaning meaningless. Life will be meaningless, but it doesn't have to be that way. You are the guard and you're the guardian and the steward of your passion. So take care of that and allow passion to fuel your purpose.
Awesome. Lizette Arches, a leadership coach, author, and speaker. Thanks for joining us at Tomorrowist.
Thank you, Jerry. Great honor being here.
That'll do it for this week's episode. If this conversation resonated with you, check out the show notes or resources on how to strengthen leadership resilience and build passionate, future-ready teams. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time on Tomorrowist. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe to Tomorrowist wherever you get your podcast. We also publish a weekly newsletter with in-depth articles and the latest SHRM research to help keep you in the know about the trends shaping the future of work. You can subscribe and find all of our episodes on our website at shrm.org/Tomorrowist. Thanks for listening. And remember, the workplace is changing rapidly. You don't have to be a futurist, be a tomorrowist.
SHRM.